All right, let's move on to the other story here. And this is a Star Wars Andor situation. I hope you all enjoyed the last 3 episodes of Andor. How great were those episodes? You know, we reviewed them on the Geek Buddies, which our spoiler review is up. We did it on yesterday, because Michael was out of town. We finally got a chance to sit down and kind of relish and really savor those episodes, go through the beat by beat through those episodes. And what an incredible trio of episodes that was from Andor season 2. And we got to see the K2S of the K2 droids. They're doing some pretty brutal things. You know, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched the Andor season 2 yet. Some of you may not want to watch, may want to wait to watch it until all of it drops. But there were some brutal things that we got to see those droids do. So this is an interesting story to jump into next here concerning the plans they had behind the scenes, because we'd heard Star Wars has had some horror plans in the past. So let's take a look at this story here and jump into it, because this is a fascinating situation with Gilroy and what he wanted to do with this. Apparently, Gilroy on the scrapped Andor horror episode. As you all know, Andor is set to close up its second and final season run with the last 3 episodes to air this coming week. The series has seen its seasons dominated by arcs of usually several episodes each. Nevertheless, the first season did contain a standalone 7th episode titled Announcement, which was set between the heist and prison arcs and offered a bit of a breather between those 2 arcs. And we know what happened in the first 6 episodes. In these last 3 episodes, I imagine you would have needed a breather. I certainly needed a breather after episode 9, so they could have put another episode there as well. But the second season consists of 4 3-episode arcs, so there would appear to be little time for a standalone episode. Turns out, though, last week's 9th episode almost was one. Series creator, showrunner Tony Gilroy tells Collider that Cassian and K2SO's reunion was originally going to be a standalone episode inspired by Ridley Scott's Alien. Ooh. That plan was scrapped due to scheduling limitations. The K2 reunion, the K2, this is his quote here, the K2 reunion, Danny Gilroy, director, did that 3rd block, and episode 9 was a standalone episode at that point. Episode 9 was an episode where Vel and Melshi were supplying Yavin, and we know Melshi from, of course, season 1, was a huge supply ship that was bringing all these supplies to Yavin, and the KX unit gets on the ship. It was sort of like Alien. It was like a horror movie. What happens on this ship? Cassian was on there as well, and it was a standalone episode. It was really badass. And Danny poured his ass into it, and they were like, you got to lose something really big. And that was the big thing that fell off right away. We can't do that. Now, I think, honest to God, it was really cool, but I wouldn't go back to it. I wouldn't swap it out. I like what we have now better. And, of course, the final 3 episodes of Andor will air on May 13th.
All right, I've been talking a lot about going to the gym. And I go 4 days a week. I do it. But I've been looking for something really to make sure that I can do on the weekends, because I feel like I'm in it now. I'm in it. I want to get a good workout in. So Hydrow, I do it all at home on my schedule, and I do it in 20 minutes. Rowing on the Hydrow, it gets me the full body workout, and I don't ever even have to leave the house. It's great. I just found out about it not too long ago. I said, let me check it out. I saw all these great reviews about it. And man, it is the way to go. It's a secret weapon for a full body workout. It hits like 86% of your muscles, arms, legs, core, all of it. And you can knock it out again in 20 minutes. It's efficient and it actually works. One thing that I really love about it, you don't get bored. Hydrow's got tons of workouts with actual Olympians, and they're filmed in this gorgeous outdoor spots all over the world. It makes it way easier to stay motivated. If you're on the fence about it, there's a free shipping. It's 30-day risk-free trial, and Hydrow offers a full year warranty. Honestly, no pressure. You try it out, you see how it feels. So if you need to skip the gym, not the workout, you stay on track with Hydrow. For a limited time, go to hydrow.com and use the code Christian. You save up to $475 off your Hydrow Pro Rower during Hydrow's Memorial Day sale. That is hydrow.com. Use the code Christian. That is Hydrow, hydrow.com. Code Christian to save up to $475. Hydrow.com. Code Christian.
Coming up here this week. So pretty astounding stuff too, because we've been hearing this idea of horror in Star Wars. Certainly Tony Gilroy has, in these interviews over the last few weeks, mentioned the fact that he thinks Star Wars can go in a number of directions and that horror is one of the big directions he wants to see it go in the future. And certainly a lot of Star Wars fans have thought about and enjoyed the idea and entertained the idea favorably about having some horror elements in Star Wars. Certainly we've seen some scary moments and some unsettling moments. Certainly as badass as it is to see Vader turn on his lightsaber at the end of Rogue One, it's still a scary AF moment. So there are elements throughout the series of Star Wars, the movies and the TV shows, where we've seen some horrific moments and horror-filled moments or horror-tinged moments in Star Wars. So a full straight horror would be interesting to see. I wonder if they, if they had shot that episode, it would have been interesting to see that as like a special episode on Disney Plus. We've seen the, what do you call it? The Werewolf by Night and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Those are essentially one-offs. And yes, they are tied to the overall MCU canon and Guardians and Werewolf situation, but I think you could have done this episode anyway. And even though you were going to lose it, you could have made the episode and then put it up on Disney Plus as like a special treat for the fans, special treat for the Star Wars fans. Would have been fun to see, especially the idea of a K2 or KX unit there in the ship terrorizing Vel and Melshi and Cassian. Now listen, we don't get a lot with Vel over these 2 seasons. So, and I like her as Faye Marsay, I think is the actress's name. I really enjoy her as Vel. And so a whole episode where we get to see her shine as an actress, I think would have been awesome. Because I mean, if you haven't seen Adolescence, she's great in Adolescence, but even there, she's not one of the main focus actors. She is certainly one of the lead actors, but she's not, she's not the therapist, or she's not the main black detective, or Stephen Graham, or the mom or the sister in that family. So at times she's a bit of a backseat in certain scenes. And so you would like to see more with Faye. And if you've seen her stuff across the pond there, her British stuff, she's fantastic. So would have been nice to see an episode with her and Melshi. Getting more with Melshi would have been awesome as well, as people really loved him from season 1, and more with Cassian there dealing with this situation with the KX unit, especially if he's about to befriend a KX unit in K2SO. It would have added even more kind of, I don't know, suspicion and conflict, but maybe they felt they were walking the same terrain the Mandalorian walked, because remember, Mandalorian had issues with droids from the beginning. Maybe thought they were repeating themselves a bit. It was a bit too much to do that. I don't know, but it would have been interesting to see horror. And I think Star Wars, if it expands its reach, expands its brand even more, a horror episode of a series or a horror mini movie, I think would be fascinating to see on like Disney Plus. That would be really interesting. And you could attract a damn good horror director to come in and do something who's always been a Star Wars fan. It could be really interesting. I mean, Guillermo del Toro doing a Star Wars movie as a horror director would be really interesting, right? I mean, I think that could be fascinating. And there are plenty of up and coming horror directors who are Star Wars fans as well, who might love or relish the opportunity to do some horror filled projects in the future with Star Wars, so I think it would be interesting for sure. Let's see here. So there you go. So we will see. Yeah, we've seen it in animation. That's a great point, Seattle. We've seen it in other things. There have been some horror elements in Mandalorian, in Andor, certainly in a couple of beats in a couple of moments or a few moments rather in the prequels. So, I mean, there's possibilities there that you could play around with that kind of stuff, because not everything's going to, clearly with Andor and stuff like Skeleton Crew and Acolyte, you see there's many different ways to portray Star Wars on screen, with a small screen or the big screen. So it could be fascinating to see what that's all about. Well, what do you all think? Is it time to put horror in Star Wars? Would you have liked to have seen this episode? Would you like them to release the script for this episode? So maybe there could be someone who could do some animatics on it, some fun animatics, do some kind of animation on a program or something, and create a version of this episode that people could enjoy kind of quietly on social media. What do you think about this? Or is Star Wars not the place for horror? Is that becoming too adults to go into that area of Star Wars? Everyone's entitled to their opinion on how they see their Star Wars. Let me know what you think there in the comments, and let me know what you think here in the chat, and send a super chat. Let me know what you think about the horror, or do you have a horror story? Yeah, that'd be fun to talk about. If you have any story elements you'd like to see in a Star Wars horror film, send them my way.